Hey everyone, Pastor Mike Novotny here from Time of Grace Ministry. I hope you enjoyed John chapter 1. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I'm here just to share two really quick insights with you that we could get every drop of Jesus out of John's gospel. Probably to me, out of all the incredible passages in John chapter 1, the one that jumps off the page is 1 verse 14, where John says that Jesus came from the Father full of grace and truth. Now think about that. Jesus was full of it. Well, when it came to grace, to undeserved love for sinful people, Jesus didn't have like 20% grace or 50% grace and 50% truth. He was full of grace. And he was the same with truth. He had 200 proof, we might say, grace and truth in his life. And in John's gospel, you're going to see that. Jesus has more love for more broken, sinful, messed up people. For the woman caught in the act of adultery. For the lonely Samaritan woman who's been married, 4 or 5 or however many times. For people that the world would have excluded, Jesus had incredible grace because he was full of it. And he was also full of truth. I mean, we'll see Jesus saying to sexually sinful people, go and sin no more. We're about to see him flipping over tables in the temple and lecturing religious leaders. And I want you to take that to heart, because one of the hardest things to do in the Christian life is to be full of grace and truth. To not compromise what's true, to not be embarrassed of something that Jesus said in his teaching, but at the same time to be full of grace and love for people, even those who don't believe what we believe or live how we live. And so I pray today throughout John's gospel that you would meet a Jesus who never compromised. He was full of grace and truth. And the second thing I want to say to you today is that we've already seen how incredibly connected John is to the Old Testament. If you've never read the first part of the Bible, what we call the Old Testament, you would have missed the phrase in the beginning, John 1 verse 1. You would have missed the idea of Moses, John 1 verse 17, Elijah, John 1 verse 21, Elijah or the prophet, John 1 verse 25, the Lamb of God, John 1 verse 29, this idea of Jesus and his connection to the ladder to heaven, John 1 verse 51. And so I want to encourage you, if you don't know much about the Old Testament, to ask somebody. Like if you don't know who Elijah was or what the reference to the prophet is or why John would call Jesus the Lamb of God, I want you to find someone you know that knows a lot about the Old Testament. It might be a Christian at your church or in your family. It might be your pastor. If you're doing this reading plan with friends, I want you to ask just honest questions. And I want to tell you that up front, because so often there's great things in the Bible that we don't know because we don't know. So I pray today that you would have the humility to ask, and we as a community of faith would have the love and the time and the patience to answer. Hope you're enjoying John chapter 1. Hope you enjoy John chapter 2 next week, and have a great week.